Latin America and Caribbean leaders arrive in Venezuela to attend the 23rd summit of ALBA-TCP, which will be held on Wednesday in Caracas. A military plane of the South Command of the United States landed at the international airport of Haiti to Saint Louverture. And Israel confirmed an upcoming evacuation of Rafah in the upcoming weeks to carry out its promised assault on what they see as Hamas' last stronghold. Hello and welcome to From the South. My name is Belén de los Santos, and from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba, we begin with the news. On Wednesday, Tuesday and Wednesday, Caribbean leaders began arriving in Venezuela to attend the 23rd summit of ALBA-TCP, which will be held today in Caracas. In this sense, the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Brown, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Gonsalves, and other regional leaders have arrived at the international airport of Maiquetía to attend the regional bloc summit. Precisely, the leaders were received by Foreign Minister Iván Gil and Executive President of ALBA-TCP, Jorge Arreaza. In this regard, at the 23rd summit, Venezuela will define a concrete work agenda with the countries that make up the bloc. And on Wednesday, the president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, highlighted that ALBA-TCP as a community of union through its social network X. The mandatory indicated that ALBA-TCP is the community of the region for the union of wills and inclusive dialogue, respect, cooperation, and political agreement. In this sense, Maduro stated that in the face of diversity, they must continue advancing towards the integration of our America and the development of the peoples. He also pointed out that the Bolivarian Republic will host on Wednesday the 23rd summit of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our Americas, People's Trade Treaty, ALBA-TCP. The summit was announced by the Executive Secretary of the Regional Integration Bloc, Jorge Arreaza, during the meeting for a World Social Alternative, which was attended by 300 delegates from 60 countries last week. The meeting will include the presentation of a strategic agenda 2030 announced by Arreaza at the meeting, with 5 key horizons: economic, political, social, cultural, and communicational. And furthermore, ALBA-TCP echoed the arrival of representatives of the regional organization in Venezuela. Venezuelan Foreign Minister Iván Gil, together with the Executive Secretary of ALBA-TCP, Jorge Arreaza, received the Prime Ministers of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Brown, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Gonsalves, along with other regional leaders such as Miguel Díaz-Canel and Luis Arce, for the alliance and the summit that will be held in Caracas. In other news, the Colombian state approved on Tuesday the pension reform bill presented by the government of Gustavo Petro, and the initiative will move forward to the House of Representatives. Along with the 19 articles approved, the senators agreed on implementing the initiative on July 1st, 2025. Among other benefits, the initiative seeks to eliminate extreme poverty among the elderly population in Colombia, and it is expected that at least 2,600,000 elderly people will receive benefits until their death. The reform must still be submitted to 2 more debates in the House of Representatives before June 20th, but experts consider it shouldn't face major obstacles.
I want to make it very clear that this government accepts the pension funds as an element that allows the complementarity and improvement of the pension of Colombian men and women, but this is also the right time for them to show their greatness and continue on the path of supporting this project, which will allow 3 million senior citizens to get out of extreme poverty. This project will help around 12 million people currently contributing, but having no pension, so they can have real protection for their old age through a life annuity by the year 2052.
Minister Ramirez further thanked the contribution of all those who helped the proposal to move forward with steadfast steps.
Many thanks to the President, the Secretary, and the Undersecretary, and to each and every one of the members of our technical team, to the National University, and to each and every one of the Colombian men and women who with their participation in the forums and in the public hearings reaffirmed the conviction of this government that we must advance for all Colombians. Thank you very much.
The government of Argentina has shown inaccuracies while trying to respond to the popular claim in defense of public higher education, just hours after the largest protest the country has seen in the last decade. The executive assured it had transferred funds to universities, but without an increase in the budget. In this regard, the House of Government recognized that they had arrived late to this pressing issue, as hundreds of thousands took to the streets all over the country on Tuesday to protest fund cuts that endanger public universities. The Ministry of Security failed to implement its street protocol in the face of the 800,000 demonstrators in the capital, Buenos Aires, alone. Furthermore, by the end of the day, Maximiliano Queseli, right-hand man of the Human Capital Minister, resigned from his position in the face of the massive protests.
The defunding of the university and the scientific system is detrimental to the declared objectives of achieving economic growth. It is a setback for the country's economy, which could be significantly supported by exports based on the knowledge economy. Thanks to its university and scientific system, Argentina is the first country in Latin America in terms of research, development, and innovation. One of the 10 most important energy reactors in the world was manufactured in this country.
In other news, on Tuesday, a military plane of the Southern Command of the United States landed at the international airport Toussaint Louverture in Port-au-Prince, the capital of Haiti. In this way, the U.S. military force confirmed the dispatch of a military plane with reinforcements to protect Washington's representation in Haiti and the first landing of a flight at the Toussaint Louverture airport in more than a month. On the other hand, the Southern Command alleged that its personnel will help ensure that the U.S. Embassy in Haiti remains open and operational amid the wave of violence unleashed by an alliance of criminal groups. In this sense, the official statement published on the website of the U.S. Southern Command confirms the denouncements made by many local and international social activists regarding the presence of U.S. troops in the Caribbean nation with the aim of military intervention. And we go now live to Venezuela as regional leaders continue to arrive in Caracas ahead of the 23rd summit of ALBA-TCP. We are looking at Philippe Pierre, Prime Minister of St. Lucia, who is arriving at Caracas. He is being received by Venezuelan Foreign Minister Iván Gil, who is the one welcoming the delegations, the heads of state, who are arriving in Caracas, arriving in Venezuela ahead of this ALBA-TCP summit. We are looking at live images from the airport of Maiquetía in Caracas, where several heads of state have arrived since yesterday and now Wednesday morning as well. We are now looking at the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, who is walking down the path. He has descended from his airplane and is now being formally greeted in Caracas by Foreign Minister Iván Gil. In this way, regional leaders are arriving to the Venezuelan capital to take part in the 23rd summit of the ALBA-TCP reunion that is happening this Wednesday, where regional leaders will get together to set a common agenda for the regional bloc. Let's recall that we are looking at live images from Maiquetía Airport as regional leaders continue to arrive. for this new summit. And now let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Let's go now live to Venezuela again, where regional leaders continue arriving to participate in the summit. In this case, we're looking at the foreign minister of Grenada, who is arriving in Venezuela. Let's recall that the ALBA-TCP summit is about to begin this Wednesday with regional leaders, and in this case, the representative of Grenada is the one arriving. In this case, we are contacting with live images from Venezuela. Those were live images from Maiquetía Airport of Caracas, Venezuela, as regional leaders continue arriving ahead of the 23rd summit of the ALBA-TCP bloc. Israel confirmed the evacuation of Rafah in the upcoming weeks to carry out its promised assault on what they see as Hamas' last stronghold. The purchase of 40,000 10 to 12-person tents, plus the recent approval by the U.S. Senate of military assistance, make the operation on the Palestinian border with Egypt almost imminent. Despite warnings from several governments and world organizations, Israel, with the support of the United States, has decided to go ahead with the maneuver. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is expected to meet with the War Cabinet in the coming weeks to authorize the evacuations as the first part of the operation. And meanwhile, in Palestine, the Israeli occupation forces carried out a new ground invasion, leaving a lot of destruction and death in its wake. Our correspondent, Nuha Racine, brings us all the details.
We are now in Middle Gaza, specifically talking the Al-Nusayrat refugee camp, and the Israeli drones are hovering over us. This place is one of the places where the Israeli forces performed its last land invasion on Middle Gaza, and this place specifically is called Nusayrat New Camp. However, it is not new anymore, as 70% of this camp was totally destroyed, and those buildings that are still standing are partly damaged. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, the number of people who were killed during this last Israeli land invasion is more than 50 people, including women and children. The Israeli land invasion in this area is considered in a way to control the areas between northern Gaza and southern Gaza. This place where the Al-Nusayrat refugee camp is located is actually linking the two parts of the Gaza Strip all together, and the Israeli forces were trying to control this main road to somehow stop Palestinians from moving from the north to the south and also in the other ways. As you can see here behind me, we are talking total destruction in whole blocks, in whole areas. I mean, this is one neighborhood, and we're talking about tens of homes that are totally destroyed. We are talking about thousands of families that lost their homes. These families are actually displaced, even though these areas are considered the green zone and they can return back to their homes, but actually there's no homes for them to return to. Nuha Racine, teleSUR, Gaza.
And also in Palestine, mass graves found in 2 Gaza hospitals have shocked the world and the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. Gazan authorities confirmed that several of the bodies found in the grave at the Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis were handcuffed. The count is approaching 300 corpses, many of them showing signs of execution. In the Al-Shifa, the largest hospital in the Strip, destroyed by the Zionist troops, a mass grave with numerous bodies was also found at the beginning of April. In this context, Volker Turk, UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, said that he was horrified by the reports coming from both hospitals. Meanwhile, the Israeli aggression against the Gaza Strip has been going on for 200 days, leaving thousands of dead, wounded, and a food and health crisis. According to Gazan authorities, the Israeli occupation has not achieved any of its strategic objectives and has only succeeded in razing the Strip to the ground, killing thousands of people. Government authorities denounced the total or partial destruction of most of the buildings, health centers, homes, and schools in the region due to the attacks. They also warned that 80% of the agricultural sector has been destroyed, aggravating the hunger and health crisis in the area. And now we have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and also share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. On Tuesday, Rwandan opposition leader Frank Habineza reacted to the British Parliament's approval of a bill to allow the deportation of undocumented asylum seekers to the East African nation.
As leader of the Democratic Green Party of Rwanda and member of the lower chamber of Parliament, along with my comrade Jean-Claude Ntezimana, we didn't vote for that. The same for our party member Alexis Mugisha, a member in the upper house. Our party doesn't support the bill of sending asylum seekers to Rwanda. We have elaborated numerous reasons.
Frank Habineza, as representative of the opposition party, Democratic Green Party, called for human rights to be considered when the law is materialized.
Although we have gone against the bill, we respect that law since it has just been adopted by Rwanda and the United Kingdom legislators. But we are still fighting for the fundamental human rights and legal procedures to be abided by. We want these people to enjoy all their rights on their way to Rwanda.
On Tuesday, the newly elected president of Senegal, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, affirmed that his administration seeks to renew relations with the European community. In this sense, Senegal's new leader, in the framework of a meeting in Dakar with the president of the European Council, Charles Michel, made it clear that any ongoing cooperation and partnership with the European bloc would be renewed. Faye recently announced the renegotiation of oil and gas contracts and hopes to do the same with the fisheries agreements already signed. Precisely, the Senegal government will pursue a development model from within, focusing on agricultural, livestock and fisheries, and strengthening infrastructure such as railroads, electricity grids and telecommunications.
It is true that cooperation is dense and multifaceted, but together we want to build a partnership that is rethought, renewed, and enriched by a shared vision of a fairer international order that reflects the realities of today's world. A partnership that is adapted to changing circumstances and capable of supporting the innovative dynamic that we want to imprint on our relations.
And let's go now to the field of science and innovation. In China, joint efforts between the government, scientists, and nearly 12,000 farmers have turned a barren land into a fertile one in the Mu'uz Desert in the northwestern region of the country. In October 2018, the local government invested $350 million in this project focused on fertilizing the Mu'uz Desert to be able to sow potatoes. A year later, researchers and farmers started the first phase of the project by planting potatoes on 20 acres, which average yield was 150 kilograms of potatoes. They also managed to come through 430 kilograms per acre nowadays by harnessing both the minimally invasive planting and the flood irrigation technologies. Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and also on TikTok. For TeleSUR English, my name is Belén de los Santos. Thank you for watching.
For me,